do my show on public access. Trying to get my show back on there.
So you do a show on public access?
Yeah.
What stops you from doing it? I mean, you said you did do a show, right?
I'm kicked out and I'm suing the library. We're gonna indulge. Yeah, we'll get into that. I don't know if you want me to talk about that.
It's your world. It's your world. So, welcome to Club Geneva, man. I'm happy to have you here. I've wanted to, kind of talk to you for a long time, man. By the way, everybody out there, this is Eddie Ribble, okay? Eddie Ribble is a food truck extraordinaire. Street chef. Why don't you hold that back up, man? Let's see what you got there.
This is my to-go box, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So I deep dived and ran for mayor about a year and a half ago. Got into politics. I'm still into politics a little bit, but with our city, with the food trucks, it is a lot politics all the way around. You cannot sugarcoat or downplay how the food trucks treat one another, and especially me. They treat me pretty shitty, but I don't get invited to any of the events downtown, which is fine, but not cool. Let's make it fair for all the rest of them. Now we got 170 food trucks. Wow.
Okay.
It went up from 145 the year previous, so we've added 25. Right. So our industry has grown. When I first got into the food truck industry 8 years ago, it was about almost $1 billion industry. Now it's at a $1.6 billion industry for food trucks. So that's pretty big. My food concept truck idea was based out of Chicago. I use Fontanini Italian meats. They've been around for generations. A fourth generation company until like 2 years, about maybe 3 years ago. Right before, maybe during COVID, Hormel came knocking on Gene Fontanini's door and like, hey, buddy, we got a check for $455 million. You want to sell your company? We're like, wow. So I've learned that at the National Restaurant Association Food Show, which I'll be going to in May. And I've been going to that food show for over 20 years as a chef. That's our Super Bowl of food shows. Okay. Anybody in this food industry is there. That's how I met Arvco, who makes my to-go box. Right. Originally, they sold me a plain to-go box, like something similar like here, what I'm going to show this audience.
Here, let me see that real quick. Go ahead. I'm going to hold this up because I want to see it myself. Explain it, man.
So that was the original box we had about 4 years ago. They Arvco recruited me, and so that it's nice. I mean, I have advertisement, and the autographs you see on that to-go box, the tour of the autographs you see is Sabaton, and the box I am holding here last year.
Over there to you so people can see it.
So last year they had a movie called "The War to End All Wars," and that was their album. And their music is all history-driven based war.
So this is a band.
It's a band. They're from Sweden.
And what's the name?
It's called Sabotage.
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 Sabotage. Not Sabotage. There is a band called Sabotage as well. But Sabotage. There's history with me and the band like that. That's why you see this autograph, and they call me that band. Well, they're very big in Europe. They come to the United States in the fall. They play smaller venues. But
I'll let you hold that.
I don't want to get sidetracked with Sabotage, and I'm going to be all over the place with this. So more importantly, with my food truck, in the flags when I fly. And I can fly 40 flags at one given time when I don't drive with them, ladies and gentlemen. When I'm at an event or anywhere I'm set up, I put up at least 20 to 40 flags I can set up. And then, yes, I have an American flag for that Ohio State bum. The other day, Indiana Tech beat St. Francis, you idiot. And I do have an American flag. Oh, he calls me out not having an American flag on my bus. Called me anti-Trump.
Eddie, let me pull this back just a little bit, man, because you got so much to share. That's why I wanted you on the show. I mean, you seem to be a wealth of knowledge from many different aspects. You got a successful food truck. despite whatever controversies, your food truck is always up and running. It's signature because of those flags. So it's kind of like a piece of local culture around here. The street chef, you know what I'm saying? The infamous.
I like to hear that.
The infamous street chef, you know what I'm saying? So, how did you? That's why I wanted to pull it back. Like, how did you get started? Like, from the root of this, how did you just
start with a bus?
With a bus,
yeah.
But was there any like motivation? I know you just mentioned Fontanelli,
Gene
Fontanini from Chicago, my hometown. So was that the start of the inspiration, or?
Well, 20 years ago when I became a chef, I went to Ivy Tech. We're ranked 7th in the country, by the way.
Right.
It's not where you go to school. You know, I've worked with Johnson and Wells, CIA chefs. You know, they think they're arrogant.
CIA chefs?
Yeah. Culinary Institute of America.
Oh, okay.
You know,
all right, not Central Intelligence. Okay.
No,
all right, okay, got you.
You know, when I say the NRA, it's not the gun people. We are the National Restaurant Association, that food show. So we'll clarify that other acronym I threw out.
See, that's good. Everybody needs to know that.
Like, this dude is a chef and he went to the NRA?
Yeah.
You know about guns? What is he? Come on, settle down, people. No. 20 years ago, we met Fontanini, and they have the greatest Italian meats you can imagine. They're the Cadillac of Italian meats.
Wow.
They own the market in Chicago. You see the hot dog sausage carts at the White Sox games and at Wrigley. So it took me a couple years to get with Fontanini because I started out as a caterer, and they're like, if you know Chicago, they're like, what are you caterer? Beat it, kid. Tell me when you got a restaurant, a pizzeria. Come back when you got one. So I get to next year, and I'm like, I'm gonna have balls and go talk to him again. I'm like, hey, I'm still here, dude. Can I do your food on my cooking show? He's like, well, come here at 7:00 tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to film. So I'm like, wow, kind of like the setup what we have here. And at one point, I still do my cooking show on public access.
This happened in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, watch that thing right there, because you will pop that off, and then we'll look stupid the rest of the podcast.
Well, hold on. We edit that, right?
No, don't edit it, man. Just
forget about it. 7:00 in the morning.
Right.
And if you've been to McCormick place where this convention is at, I parked over on Martin Luther King, you know where that McDonald's is right over there? I mean, so there's free parking on Saturdays and Sundays during the day. So if you know, because the other park is like $25-$30. So I've been going there for years, so that's where I park. So I load up. I had a bunch of stuff, my cameras and all this. And I get to know the security people and all that, and they had a nice cart there. And I'm like, dude, I need to get to the Fontanini. But he's like, you're good, man. You look like you need a ride. So I hopped in there. And at this point, it's like 6:58. We're getting in the door.
Right.
So in their booth, like in the 2700 number, so we're in there beeline it, and he's got a light and beep through all the McCormick Center. We get up there, and everybody at the booth like had their watch on. Hey, what's up? That means like, hey man, 7:00, dude. Come on, man. I'm like, shit.
So start with Chicago. Start of it was Chicago.
Yep.
And where were you born and raised?
Fort Wayne.
Born and raised in Fort Wayne.
on a Thursday.
Okay.
Parkview.
On a Thursday at Parkview.
About 5:28 a.m. more specifically.
Okay. So that's how was your upbringing?
My dad was a teacher with Northside. My mom couldn't, hold a job. She was diagnosed as a manic depressant. So when she got off her meds, she was like Looney Tunes kind of. She would show up to school and was like, "What is your mom doing in your English class?" I'm like, embarrass the shit out of us, And
so
sometimes she'd do that, but
I got you. So I asked those questions because, like on this show, we just keep it like 100% real. So that's not to put you on the spot. I just think like people get a whole well-rounded view of
I
a
kind of,
person.
I think I had a decent upbringing. I played sports and I got into politics. So now we, stand fast. And now we move forward about 25 years in the food business.
Right.
We got a lot of, politics in Fort Wayne. When I first opened my food truck bus, actually, people freaked out like, oh my God damn. Sorry to say the GD word, like, man, I didn't imagine this bus is going to take up 3 spots. People complain about that and the size, screw them, now being on your podcast, I did run for mayor, and yes, it was a bad beat. You know what? I spent my own money and we got some good support from the community. I spent $10,000 for a 10% voter turnout.
Let me ask you something. So you got that food truck, and
it took me about a year to get all that.
And it is lucrative.
Yeah.
Seems like every time I see it, you've got a ton of people surrounding it.
Wanting your that. I work out when I go out.
So
like that.
What's on your menu?
So I do Italian sandwiches. We do Italian Philly and Italian dip, a meatball, fire dog, double dog, triple dog. We also do a gyro or gyro, depending how you pronounce it. We also do pizzas, and then I also do a smoked brisket.
So I want some pictures of that because I want to add that to here when you get a chance.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can zoom in and see that QR code, you can look at my menu, and you can be able to order through this app, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
I use Food Truck Pub, and I also use Street Food Finder, and that's got my schedule, my information, and all that.
And you need multiple outlets and multiple different devices within that bus that you run the food truck out of.
Right.
How does that all fit inside of that space, man? I mean, it's a school bus. When I think about school buses, it's big, it's long, but
it's 35 feet long. It's narrow, so it's about 9 feet, wide. I did during COVID. We did put a bathroom in there, a half bath in there. So granite countertops. I mean,
so they allow you to have a restroom inside of a food truck. I never knew that. Do most food trucks have
no.
How many would you say have restrooms on there? One. Just the streets. Just the chef.
There's only one.
That's the positive side about politics, right? Sometimes it will work in your favor. So
right. Well, I'm going to give you another. Go to the State House Market.
Okay.
And it's on Thursday. It's like getting invited to the Masters. You got to have all your ducks in a row. Got to have at least $1 million insurance on your bus. Good, good review. Good persona about your food truck. Good concept and marketing. So I go there, and I've ran into state representatives. So there was just a couple phone calls, and boom, we got this House bill to pass in the House. Then it passed in the Senate. Governor passed signed in the law last July. Actually took effect this year, January. So I got us the state says, hey, you're going to cap your permits to $200. Right. No, we're not charging $1,000. We're not charging $500.
Let me jump gears. What's a typical day like running a food truck? Like you wake up in the morning. What happens?
Well, you got to have a schedule first of all, and you can find my schedule on Street Food Finder or Food Truck Pub. Food Truck Pub, I use that when I'm at factories or ball games, you can order through this app, be at the game, at your seat, order, pay for it, and if I'm not busy, then I got my worker who'll run it into you.
Right.
Or he'll get on the bike, and it's really...
So you're awake. You wake up. You get dressed.
Right.
You say, damn, I'm looking good. I got to go work out. I got to keep this body looking good. So you say, I'm going to go work out. Right, I'm gonna pump some iron, and then I gotta look at my schedule. Now it's time to get over to the main core, the bus. It's time to get the bus moving. What happens?
I get to the bus about 9ish. We load our food for the day. Set the bus up where it's mobile. Take things off the shelf so they don't knocked over. Start the bus. I do a walkthrough, make sure the lights and the turn signals, all that work. Double check the windows, the locks.
Okay.
Get in the bus. Bus doesn't move until it gets to 120 psi for the air brakes.
Okay.
So the B&V classify this as no longer a school bus.
Right.
You
Okay.
have to take the stop arm off, so there's no stop arm.
Yeah, of course. You can't stop traffic for the food chef. You can't
I
stop
wish I could.
Yeah.
I stopped traffic for other reasons.
You got so much
I-
business, man. We'd always be in trouble, man. You start a traffic jam throughout the city.
And by law, you're supposed to change the color of the bus so it's not yellow.
Okay.
So that's why my colors are white and black, but
Yeah.
those are chef colors in the kitchen, so that's why we went with those colors.
Nice.
So in the flags I do represent, the military, wherever my service side is, that's where we go with the military flags.
Okay.
And I appreciate everybody's service, you know.
So you got your appliances warmed up. You know.
Somewhat, you know. I start when I get to the event. That's when I go start up everything. Last year we were in like 7 counties in 2 states. You know, but some of these counties, I work it where the event will pay for my temporary permit.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so last year I spent $1,100 just on health permits.
Just on permits, and I'm sure you got to pay insurance. You got to pay
for
different certificates and different compliance measures. Right.
So I got hooked up with Live Nation once again with Sabaton. They were touring with Judas Priest last year, so I ended up seeing them on like a big roadie to those guys.
Right.
When they come in the Midwest, I try to see them. So I saw them 3 times in 1 week.
Okay.
And it was nothing but great. They called me the flag guy. Met Judas Priest, Rob Hartford. Maybe I can show you the link of the Judas Priest. You know, Rob Hartford. I mean,
yeah, you got pics. They're gonna get thrown up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we'll post those for you guys. And Judas Priest's been rocking for 50 years of heavy metal, and I got to meet him, the drummer, the band. Got their pics. You know, but Sabaton, I've been following him for about 7+ years. Nah, I'd say more than that. At least 10 years. They got a new album coming out. New music coming out next Friday, the Templars. But they call me, like I said, the flag guy because all these flags I represent. And the 2 flags I really fly, or 3, besides our military. My mom's side of the family is a Polish Jew. And I'm proud to be Polish, and I'm proud to be German on my dad's side. So we fly those flags every day.
Okay,
when we're out there.
So you got the flags out of pride and respect. That's good to know.
I've never had a silver spoon, in my mouth. I worked hard for what I've got, and which is nothing.
That's why you fight so much for what you have.
Yeah, you're damn right.
I can tell. You know, on one end, people say like, you know, you got a person who is a rebel rouser, a person who, is always starting controversies or always pushing certain narratives and agendas. But I don't think people kind of think a little deeper and say like, why is that person that way?
Right.
You. It seems like to some degree you're so invested in the food truck vendor business that in some respects you are almost fighting for your well-being and your existence. I think that's kind of like the thing that, I think that focus on that is important because oftentimes we see people, right? We see their shells. We see just who they are on the outside. We see that
Absolutely.
I'm out in public view, right? And we never get the backstory about why a person is behaving or doing some of the actions that they're doing. And I think that's really the biggest piece that's missing out of all of our lives because we always are making judgments on people, but we never take the time to ask them. So this is why I think it's important for you to be able to elaborate on. That's why I talked about your past. That's why I wanted to know things about you because I want to clear up some misconceptions. So let me ask this because a lot of people don't know. Like, do you have a family? Do you have children? Do you have a wife?
I'm not married. I have no kids. My mom and dad passed away. Mom back in 2004. Dad was in 98.
So every day you wake up on your own, facing this world, correct, and you have to push forward with the tools that you've been given. Sounds like you had wonderful parents. We all got some kooky parents. When we look back, we all go.
My dad was an educator, and looking back, he was. Now my time is, I get in the arts, in the music. Sabaton,
Yeah.
I listen about maybe an hour of their music
Uh-huh.
a day. They have a song called 40 to 1.
Right.
And that's really the history why, I am here, because my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents, back in 1939 in September, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland,
Mm-hmm.
in those 3 short days,
Mm-hmm.
that's where my grandparents escaped Poland, and they recruited to come. Other Jews were escaping. It's kind of like the underground, how they got
Yeah.
over the United States.
Definitely.
And they all came on boats, and they came through New York, and they established some of them in Indianapolis.
But the gist of everything is that
That's how I was born.
Yeah, that's how you was born, and and you are kind of a one-man army, and you wake up every day, and you put your boots on, and you go out and you
one-man army. Yes,
but I'm saying
yes,
you fight
yeah.
the good fight,
Yeah.
and you're a single man, no kids, no mom, no dad.
I want you to know something, my friend,
yeah,
right? Did you do a deep dive?
No,
I don't know what's going on here.
I understand it. I have a profound respect for people who don't have like strong networks, not a lot of family and stuff like that. Because even for me, I don't have a ton of family. I don't have a ton of relationships with. Even if I do, yeah, I have to call myself. Up until I got married, and that's what we all kind of want at the end of the day, as a partner, a companion,
right?
to go through
That's
life
what I'm
with.
still looking for.
So you are actively dating. You're trying to pursue and find people.
The dating I've been dating is my Italian sandwiches, is my food truck. I really, then I have to do book work at the end of the night for the sales of the day. I make out a list, my top 10 things I need to get done for the next day, which I do, and I have some other questions we got to get covered here.
Yeah.
I do that every day. I learned that from Z. I worked at a Jewish camp. It's called Camp Tawanda.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember the movie Meatballs with Bill Murray.
I do.
This camp out in Camp Tawanda has been around since the 50s. And when I worked there, I was the food service director, so I was in charge of feeding 500 kids and 300 staff, ladies and gentlemen, every day. So I was doing, think about that, 2,400 meals a day, and had my numbers where it needed to be. And feeding breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they're getting seconds, by the way. And week before this Jewish camp, we had pork ribs, ladies and gentlemen. So don't fool you. Jewish people do eat pork sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And we had the rabbi come in the day before and bless the camp. And
right.
Little did he know we had spare ribs.
Right. We got a lot of men on this channel who watch this channel. I look at the algorithms. We got like mostly 80% men that watch this channel.
Okay.
19% women. So, as a man.
Opposite, man. I got 60% women going to my food truck and 40% men.
Well, then you got, okay, so when is the last time you found a date, Mr. 60% women coming to your food truck? When is that?
Wow. When the last time I took a girl to a date, it was actually, she met me at the movie theater, and we went and saw this movie here.
How long ago was that?
It was on October 30th. So
Okay.
they made this thing into a movie.
2023. Okay.
Yeah, and then they released it to cinemas. So when they had this was just at museums throughout the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
So during COVID, a lot of places went bellied up. So Sabaton, with their history of their music, you're like, hey, let's reward these museums.
Mm-hmm.
We have this movie. We'll give it to them for free. They can host parties for that week, maybe geared around Veterans Day, which they did. And they had it throughout the world. Like 60 countries participated in this movie. And I went to St. Paris in Ohio.
Right.
Dude, it was in the nosebleeds. Your internet, your phone didn't work. It was like way out. It was by Chillicothe.
Okay.
Way down by West Virginia. It was, I mean, you pass a state pen.
Okay. How did the date go? I got to know. How did the date go?
No kiss. We shook hands.
Okay. All right.
She probably didn't like the movie,
You can't name drop her.
No.
You can't do that.
No.
I'm just joking.
No.
So that's cool because
No.
it's a lot of dudes who, are out in the world. And
well, they're asking for dating advice. You got the wrong channel, dude. Skip.
Yeah, but you know, it's a lot of guys in the world who are single. It's a lot of guys who are, you know, having like issues with like not being able to connect with family, not having a community, not having a relationship with anything other than either their passions or
I
their
don't go
work.
out to clubs or bars to meet people like that. I mean, I do once in a while go to my ex-wife's church.
Okay, so you were married.
Yeah.
How long were you freaking married, man? That's important.
It was a brief, but we were together for about 15 years.
Brief, 15 years? That's not brief, man.
So we never really, you know, consummated, like, but when you live with somebody for plus another 5, so about 20 years.
Right.
She's still, you know, now I call her like, hey, you know what the F I'm doing now?
Yeah.
Like, what?
We no, not necessarily, but we see people, you know, and we make assumptions, right? So the same thing happens with like politics with you. People see you and they make assumptions based off of what they hear, but they never get to experience you.
They don't see me, you know, right.
You have to have conversations with people to experience them.
No, I get that.
And men, we make a lot of bold assumptions about people because we do not step out of our comfort zones because it's not fun for us. We don't step out of our comfort zones to get to know people. And we stay in our shells and we formulate our own opinions. And then boom, we throw out all these bias. That's what we do as men. And then sometimes it contradicts us in a negative way because we end up with self-health issues, self-harm issues. So I like this show to be about a portion of this show is about men's advocacy and men's health. So having a man on here that's respected, that works hard, that does all this cool stuff with vendors, is helping other men who are maybe in your position to kind of climb.
Right.
You know, to get to that next level.
And I'm hoping, you know, who does watch your show, you know, this industry is very hard, you know, as a restaurant. Yes, I went to school to be a chef, and I'm proud to graduate from Ivy Tech, ranked 7th in the country. And like I said, if we throw Johnson Wales and CIA chefs, I can smoke them. I've been in cooking competitions. I finished in 5th. I've won the Bear, 98.9 the Bear when Elvis and Hammer back in the day was on the radio. You were born. You were born in 82.
Don't remind me. I wish it was 92.
But no, you know, I love cooking competitions. It shows you where I'm at. You know, I finished in 5th place my last competition, but I represented our whole state of Indiana in the Louisiana cooking competition. And you had to bring your own seafood. Okay. Dude, Indiana doesn't have seafood.
Right.
So I had to go do my homework, so I brought rainbow trout, which is pretty prominent
I love
fish.
rainbow trout.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. But when I went down there, and Libby was the plate sponsor. So my plate, if you see this now, I wish my plate was about that size. My plate was a lot smaller. The fish was hanging out, no ramekin. They're like, what a mess.
Right.
You know, like, you want to fix this? And
so your food is good, but your presentation ain't always the greatest.
It was at that competition. And, you know, they felt bad. And I told them, I'm like, man, they didn't give me the right plate. And the night before, when I showed up at the hotel, they were like, well, this is the plate you got. I'm like, what? So I'm at 10 o'clock at night at the hotel, like, working this dish. And I'm like, dude, I'm screwed. The competition's tomorrow. I already have my product here. I mean, I can't. I mean, I went to the local grocery store to find plates. I mean, at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night in New Orleans.
Right.
And I was so mad.
So you feed the homeless?
I do the homeless thing quite a bit, as much as I can when I can afford to. But it averages out because I keep my books. The last 2 years, I have averaged about 2,500 meals. Last year, in the year when I ran for office, that's what we do.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You actually care about people. You actually.
Well,
I've noticed you said that over and over and over during this podcast, is that you support other organizations, you support people, you give food to kids who don't have enough food for, like, at sporting events, you feed the homeless, You stand up for the people's rights, even if some people don't view it as something that is
Think
productive
I'm
or not.
a rebel or not getting it. He's doing it because he's not getting accepted.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to do the show, is because I want people to see. I want people to see you. No, not the misconception is that. So how can people contact you if they want to get a hold of you?
You can contact me through on social media, but more in general, you can contact me. Should I put my phone number out there?
No, you can just put your we'll do your email address.
callinachef@yahoo.com.
Call in.
No, calling. You're calling.
Calling. Okay, so CALLING
ACHEF
at
yahoo.com.
Excellent, man.
Thank you for your time.
It's been great, man.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, we got to, man. We got to
bring in my food, so.